make short films, I'm sure you have considered and even submitted your films to festivals. It's very highly likely. If you made a great film, you've been accepted into some. Or if you know the right people. Or if you have enough money. How come it's so hard to get into even the smallest of festivals these days? My thesis film I made to graduate with a bachelor's degree in fine arts and cinema is going to a festival in Kansas in March, with plans to release on the channel right here shortly after. I'm pretty proud of it and all the work that my actors and crew put into it. And really from the first image of my head conceptually, before I even started writing, all the way to the final image that we see on screen is fairly close. You know, one of the first for me, I think. How's it going over there? We got 2 angles going today. So yeah, it was kind of the most I ever thought ever in pre-production. I think it ended up being about like 5 months of whole pre-production, just because it was going to get started earlier and then it got pushed back. I did it. It wasn't originally going to be my thesis film, but regardless, it like 5 months wholly of pre-production for a little 8-minute short film. Some people plan years, I guess, for a whole short film. So whatever. I'm just saying how it is. It was one of the first films I just thought every frame, every angle was just under great scrutiny with the help of my teachers in school. Shooting went pretty great. No big snags. We got it all. And to top it off, everything was made, this production specifically, just that much more official with all the permits we had to get in LA with Film LA and in Lancaster County, working with the Film Commission and the California State Parks, all for a budget of around $1,500. My other classmates' film budgets range all the way from $5,000 to $20,000, which is about average for a short film, especially a thesis film. I think the average is probably more like $15,000 to $30,000 for a short film. So I was easily the lowest budgeted film. My teachers and other people really hyped up the film to me when I had finished it. My thoughts at the time, right after it was done, was scrambled at best. I can never really tell how good one of my films is until someone else tells me, which is sort of the whole predicament here. I've conditioned my brain into thinking of numbers and box office as a factor in a film's success, but more critically, its quality. Sites like Rotten Tomatoes, I think, do the worst. I hate Rotten Tomatoes. There's a pretty bad culture within Letterboxd even, and IMDb is no better, but we've all conditioned ourselves that films are good because of a rating. I'm no veteran of film festivals. This is just my experience, and I've heard similar things to other people that I know that I consider to be on my level. So my experience with my thesis film Blocked was I submitted my film and just festival after festival denials. It gets you starting to think about why your film didn't get in, the money wasted on submission fees, and it all can really add up and impose impending questions about your work and the film's quality. Look, I mean, the festival even says your film is great, and it's always hard to judge so many films and narrow down in their little denial email. Which I'm sure it is. I can't even imagine being a judge on a panel. It's a weird situation you are. And it's just weird to compare and contrast art in general. But most festivals put a little anecdote to soften the blow that this year, out of all the other years, was their record number of submissions, which I believe is always going to be broken every year henceforth, just because population is always going to be going up. And, you know, everybody and their daughter can make a movie these days and even make it look half decent with the camera quality with little to no experience. So here I am with an 8-minute drama film with a tiny bit of thriller vibes that festivals just don't want. Not only did the people around me give my film confidence, but it rubbed off onto me. I had confidence in it too. I thought for sure I was going to be around the US or in at least the Los Angeles area with this film, and that was going to be the next big step for me, and then the rest would be history. I'm no stranger to festivals being in the vein of my existence as a filmmaker. The first film that I think jumped in quality for me was this very surrealist shoestring plot with just pretty images and music. I thought for sure was going to be the sort of experimental stuff that festivals were looking for. They weren't. I had my biggest production to date only get into Omaha Film Festival as its crowning achievement, and we even had an ELO song licensed for festivals. A 1-year license just for festivals, and in short, it was a waste. So I've had some success with festivals that in my head I don't often think as actual successes, which is just a crazy fault of mine because I just won a few awards at this Ethos Film Awards, and I met John Parr, and I sat next to him on a panel, the St. Elmo's Fire music guy. He made that original song. Yeah, like one of the most iconic songs from the 80s. It was a documentary festival that I put my grandmother's doc in that I made about my grandma, and one about a stateside soldier's mental health. There are plenty of other online awards and stuff I've gathered, but to tell you the truth, those online festivals are mostly a hack. They are very easy to get into, and the way I see it, with the submission fees, you're just buying yourself a laurel. They don't actually get you out into the ethos, out into talking with people. At least from my experience, I've never had any sort of contact from people that have seen it from those festivals. In my head, I count my losses more than my successes. I focus more on the bad things in life than the good. I'm sort of just now coming to terms of why I am that way, kind of what's led me down that path, and I don't want to live like that anymore. I've talked at these underground little community showcase festivals in Seattle with 2 of my films there. Like I said, I got into the Omaha Film Festival and I went up and talked on a panel. My grandma's doc got into that one too. So I had 2 films going into the Omaha Film Festival that year. I got into this cool artsy Chicago festival with Mod Shoulder. Flatwater Festival in Seward, Nebraska is always showing Nebraska films, and I've gotten into there plenty of times. I still haven't gotten there, but hopefully this year. It's just such a bitch because festivals are the last sort of sure thing as a filmmaker, short filmmaker, feature, documentary that is a sure, legitimate kind of thing for us. There are a lot of other options online, like Vimeo, Short of the Week, YouTube. Plus, I'm sure other places I don't even know about for an audience to see and to get your name out there and potentially have other people see it and like it, and who knows. But festivals are just the last physical in-person thing where industry buyers, producers, actors, directors, writers actually go to because either their film's in it or they're looking to buy the film. They want to work with other filmmakers, and that's the most important thing living in LA is the people you know. I can't stress that anymore. It's not about talent. It's not about money. It's all about who you know. Is it a Petra song? I apologize if I'm coming off a little bit bitter because it's always hurtful, I guess, to be denied. It hurts when you put all the time, effort, money into your art and then somebody random just goes, it's not good enough. It's not good. And little old me, I can't get anywhere with my films. You know, maybe I'm not good enough. But is that the takeaway though? I'm not a good enough filmmaker. I can't get into festivals after 5 or so years of trying, so I just give up. To make a finer point about why my films aren't getting into festivals and why maybe you aren't either, I'm skirting around the obvious of maybe the film isn't good enough. The hard things about festivals is they give you no reason. And they don't need to give you a reason, but that's just a part of it. That's the fact of it is there's services out there that you can get feedback from some festivals, but it costs more, and it's another added on fee and whatnot. But to find the good out of denials from festivals is to take a closer look at your work and see what I could have done better. In the case of Blocked, which I don't really want to get that much into before even it being released, but I think it came down to the story. Same thing with Moving in Stereo. The story just wasn't quite on point, or wasn't quite there, it didn't quite connect. I think Moving in Stereo is more the case of the short film being a little bit too much of a proof of concept for the feature, which is what it was based off of, but we didn't find a short story to warrant a short story within itself, other than just making a proof of concept for the feature that I want to do for Moving in Stereo. And Blocked was just, I think, a little bit too cryptic, which I like to sit in the cryptic and a little bit questionable, like David Lynch, of just like, what is going on? Maybe not quite as abstract as David Lynch, but more of, you gotta sit with the film, and maybe there's questions being raised, and even by the end, it's not necessarily those questions aren't being satisfied. You're not really finding out about it. And I think that's kind of maybe Blocked, I suppose, gets into that. You just have to find that very sweet zone of it, just a really well told story, shot really well. And also, the majority of short films have a broader world meaning, like world impact, I should say. It's more, they tackle a lot of real world subjects about race, equality, and that sort of thing, which I've never really dived into because, alright, tangent over. I've always looked at the 25-year mark as the age of to make my first feature. Truthfully, I was very self-absorbed as a 20-year-old and thought I could be in the same vein as PTA, making my first great film at 26. You know, you always hear like the best directorial debuts kind of phrases with PTA, Jordan Peele, Tarantino. I always thought that being the young, cool, great new filmmaker was such a great title to have. But the fact remains that with age comes wisdom. I'm okay with making different short films for years to come with little to no views, because at the end of the day, I write these films to satisfy something emotional inside of me that I cannot speak or create in any other way other than with moving images, dialogue, and music all paired together to make a film, cinema. I make them with the hope that someone else can relate. If that's just one person, great. That's when I've succeeded. If one person can say, hey, I like that, that's fine. And sometimes that one person is just my mom, God bless her. Because I'm starting to make things my grandma won't like anymore. There are films I'm making that aren't necessarily emotionally rich or satisfying to me, and not every film has to be. I like films so much that I want to try it all, genre-wise. But there are these experiences that I write, and I just go, I have to see this through. I have to create it into a tangible film. My channel has become a great spot to put out short films with a satisfying response. I think festivals will still always be the greater goal for me. And at the end of the day, I think it's alright to be hurt by festival denials. There are so many immediate factors as to why that could be. The sheer number of entries is the first. A festival is a festival for a reason. Your films are being judged against other films. If you don't think art should be compared to other works, then you shouldn't be putting your work into any award-giving festivals. Just remember, it's not a direct response to the quality of your film. In some cases it is, yes, but don't immediately think your film sucks. Nobody knows what they are doing. To quote Greenspan, festivals are a huge money sucker, so maybe find somewhere else to put your films. Maybe don't submit to festivals at all. But keep creating films, keep creating art, and expressing who you are.